Hi everyone, this is Nicole Schumann from This Built America, and today we have a live Q&A with Mike Kilchenstein of Ramp Sports of Park City, Utah, who we featured this week on This Built America. You can check out the story at thisbuiltamerica.com/Utah. And Ramp Sports is a fairly young company. Been around, I'm going to say, since 2010. Mike may correct me, but a great company that's doing U.S. manufacturing of skis and snowboards and some other products that we're going to chat about today. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and we'll get to them during the chat. Hi, Mike. How are you today?
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for doing this. So I guess first of all, how did you get started? And was that 2010? I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, actually, that's when we went live, almost exactly 4 years ago, about this time when the consumer ski shows were going on. But yeah, I had worked at Rosignol Ski Company for 32 years prior, and I did everything there from working as a factory worker making skis to tech rep to sales rep to managing the eastern half of the country, and then I was VP Sales and Marketing when Quicksilver bought the company doing the Roxy ski brand. And so I had a lot of experience in different aspects of the business. But towards the later part of my career there, I started to think that there was room for a new business model that was a little more consumer accessible, you know. And, you know, I think that there was a growing trend toward the consumers wanting to be more associated with brands that were perceived as smaller and more craft type brands versus the really big ones. And so I started working on launching Ramp and involved a person who was from the music industry as a partner. And, you know, he's very active with and works for Red Light Management. And they manage hundreds of bands and music fests and things like that. But one of our athletes, Ross Powers, he's an Olympic X Games and X Games gold medalist, was with one of the guys from a band, Dave Matthews Band, and they thought of the name Ramp because they really liked the idea of a collaboration between, you know, athletes and musicians. So Ramp stands for Writers, Artists, Musicians Project. And so we started to develop this new brand, and here we are.
What do you think the connection is between artists and musicians and this outdoor sport? How do they end up I guess working together?
Well, I think that through my partner Victor, there were a lot of athletes and musicians that were getting to know each other just through events, you know, concerts and things like X Games and things like that. So one thing I kind of quickly learned when I was hanging out with both types of people at parties and dinners and things is that they have a lot of respect and admiration for what each other does. You know, someone who's as high as Ross Powers in snowboarding, I mean, he's won multiple Olympic and X Games medals, has a lot of respect for the guys like who are doing like the Dave Matthews Band, and vice versa. And a lot of the musicians also love to ski and snowboard. So I think what it is that, you know, especially on the musician side, there's no like formal arrangements. I think the musicians are willing to put their names on our website because they like what our company stands for. You know, one of the real big, you know, foundational platforms of this company is doing everything as green as possible and using best practices. And that's really what makes a lot of the athletes and the musicians willing to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know one of our other companies we featured, Liberty Bottleworks, Dave Matthews Band, we're also a big fan of them just because of the 100% recyclable materials that they were using, and also it was the energy that they combined with the product and the music at festivals. A lot of kids are paying attention to those sorts of things in their products, so it's a cool partnership there. Now.
Yeah. It's one of our early investors and was on our board of directors was Gary Hirschberg, who started Stonyfield Farm, you know, the organic food company. And, you know, he was a huge believer in if you use best practices, ultimately it actually saves you money in the long run, but it for sure will bring business to your company because a lot of people choose to buy brands where they have choices, from a company who has the same values they have. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to implement those things after the fact. Like companies might have the right intention, but they have a cost structure that's been there 100 years or 50 years, and suddenly trying to add green things into that, it's tough. So we really have built that in from the ground floor, and it's a part of everything we do.
Yeah. Now you worked with the other company for, 32 years. A lot of people might say, I'm gonna start taking some time off and take some time for me. What inspired you to go and create another company?
Well, I was very excited about the idea, and so when I get excited about something, I tend to throw a lot of energy into it, and that's certainly what's happening. But I'm not ready to retire yet, so here I am.
Mhm.
We're gonna make this a go.
That's good. Good to hear that. You know, did you grow up in Park City or in Utah in that area?
No, I grew up as a kid in Baltimore, and skiing was a little bit inaccessible. So I had an aunt who brought me skiing when I was like 5 years old at a local little hill in Baltimore County that had a tractor with a rope hooked to the back of it that would pull you back up the hill, and I loved it. So I always wanted to go skiing all the time. And I thought I had been on Mount Everest when I finally got to go to Round Top, Pennsylvania, and Liberty, Pennsylvania, and but when I got to be like in high school, every single break I had, I was saving my money and going on a trip to Vermont or Maine or New Hampshire. I just always loved the being skiing. So I went to college in Vermont um, more than anything, so I would be really close to skiing, and skied almost every day at Mad River Glen when I was in school up at St. Mike's in Burlington. And then I started working for Rosignol like a day out of college in the factory that they had up there making skis. So I've just always loved it.
Well, that goes to say, you know a lot about skis, you know a lot about your product, as well as, most of the people that work at Ramp, are they skiers as well?
Yeah, it's a great group we have here, and everyone either skis or snowboards at a pretty high level. Like our art person Polly, she won the Junior Olympics, and our communications person Charlie went to a ski academy. My son John, who makes skis, went to a ski academy. Um, everybody that works here is a very good skier or snowboarder, and it was so funny when we first started the company before we had a factory. We were doing all the engineering work, but we were outsourcing the actual production in Taiwan. And the people that worked there were very nice and hardworking, but none of them had ever even seen snow before. So it was quite a difference of that environment versus where we are now, where I'm sitting here looking towards. I look right out my window up at the canyons, Park City, and Deer Valley. They're just right out our doors. So we're very well situated to be able to do a lot of skiing here.
Yeah, and being in Park City, why do you think it is that there are not more ski manufacturers there?
Well, right now there's nobody making skis in the U.S. anymore, except for some of the small companies. I mean, the last two big ones that were doing it here were Burton and K2, and they both moved their production to China. So now what's here in the U.S. are smaller companies that are starting to bring this business back, like ourselves and some others, and they're pretty scattered around. There's another one or two down in Salt Lake and one in Ogden. There's one in Reno. There's one in Denver. But I don't know. Salt Lake's a great place, or Park City is particularly a great place to do it. But right now we're the ones.
That's interesting. Um, where does the material from your product come from? I know we talk to a lot of companies that like manufacturing in the United States, but for some of them it's difficult to find the materials to work with.
Yeah, we work hard to try to make all the materials we use be available from the United States. And in most cases, we're successful. Like we get the edges from CDW, They're an Austrian company, but they have a U.S. division, so we get it from the U.S. division. The resin is from a U.S. company called Entropy, and it's an amazing product. It's a pine byproduct versus petrochemical, so it's much cleaner to work with. All of our fiberglass is all U.S. made, the triaxial glass, the biaxial glass, all the Kevlar we use, all the carbon we use. The base is from a U.S. company. There's really two companies in the world, I think, that you can get really good bases from. One's from Austria, and one's in the U.S. called Crown, and we use that one. We do have to buy the bamboo cores. We buy them from a California company, and the reason that they have forestry stewardship certification on the bamboo is because a California company manages the production. It's grown in China, which is where this material comes from, but they use formaldehyde-free resin and best forestry practices. And the only other thing we buy outside the U.S. is the top material. There's only one company that we know of right now that makes a ski top as good as this one, and they're in Austria. So most of the materials come from the U.S., and we're working to try to bring everything here. It's just, at the end of the day, the materials have to be the very best ones.
What do you think is the big difference between, the skis your company makes, versus your competitors, that may come from foreign markets?
It comes down to several things. One is, when we were making our skis in Taiwan, we were using the same manufacturing process and mostly the same materials that all the big companies use. And this process has been around for a very long time. They use big commercial presses, and everything gets put in layer by layer into a very specifically cut mold. And it gets put in a press, and under very high pressure, everything gets squashed into the shape of a ski. And once you commit to the tooling for that kind of a mold, you can't change it. So those molds are very, very expensive, upwards of $25,000 just for one model, one size. And once you commit to that, that's it. And also, they're more limiting in the things that you can put inside of them because they're very sensitive to thicknesses and things like that. What we wanted to do here, and the way we thought we would successfully compete, is to have a much more flexible process, which is what we have. Instead of the old presses, we use a more modern vacuum molding process, like you'd see if you were in an aerospace operation where they were making like a composite helicopter blade, out of carbon. You would see them using, similar to what we do here, a vacuum process using vacuum bags. You get much better pressure distribution, much more even, and also it doesn't matter how thick the materials are, the pressure will always be the same. So with the vacuum molding process, it allows us to use any material we want, which is great. And we also have a patent-pending side cut invention so that we can change the shape of our skis without having to make a new mold, and that's a big breakthrough. We can change the radius and all the things about the product and keep way, way ahead of the trends by being able to do that. And then the third thing I think that makes the skis ski better is the materials that we use. Like almost every ski that's made or snowboard uses either poplar or aspen cores, and you can buy those for about $8 to $10. We're using this bamboo core, which is literally 4 times harder, and there's a big performance boost from the bamboo. Because it's so hard, it feels like what race skis feel like that have metal layers. It gives you that really rock-solid feel, high level of precision, edge grip, and it's also much more durable because what we have found is, when you're skiing and you hit a rock, what causes your ski to blow up or snowboard is the rock actually can make an impression into the ski. And the bamboo core combined with a full layer of Kevlar is so hard, it's really difficult to damage these skis other than to just scrape the plastic base. So I think, what is making our skis and snowboards perform so well is the fact that we can be so flexible, we can stay in front of trends, and we can be really creative because we can try any new shape, and it only takes us like a week to think of it and then test it. And it's just it's this factory here that's letting us do all this.
So you have a lot of flexibility in what you're doing.
We have an engineer who's a mad scientist, so he has a lot of great ideas, and with this process we can try everything.
That's great. Well, and also the thing I think that's very distinctive about your skis is the design. Where does the inspiration from the design come from on these, beautifully colored skis?
Well, our art person, Polly, is very talented and very creative. And, it's funny, in the beginning we were trying to get in sync with, I had sort of an idea of what I was looking for, but I'm not an artist, so I couldn't draw it. I just had an idea. And around. And finally she had some that I read. And, but it was interesting, and when I was talking to her, I said, look, I'm not really going to tell you what you can't do or what you're going to do, but I will tell you what we're not going to do. Like, I didn't want to see any angry, pissed off, bloody looking skis and snowboards. I wanted our skis and snowboards to be more, natural elements, like a bold natural element, maybe even a little humor tied into it. People always tell us when they're on our skis and snowboards, it makes them feel happy. And we were going for happy, not pissed off. And I think the industry got fixated on things like a skull, with a dagger in it or a chopped off bloody arm, and they thought that's what everybody liked. And maybe there are people who do, but I just think the industry got fixated and stuck on that, and I knew we could do better.
Well, they're pretty great and they're pretty beautiful. So I'm sure the people that own them are really happy and definitely probably get a lot of compliments on them on the slope. So that's something different that they can look at and enjoy, and that's pretty nice for the skiing snowboarding world.
Yeah, I mean, when you're on chairlifts, people always ask about them, talk about them. So I think we're accomplishing, I think, what we're trying to do.
Yeah. What has been your greatest triumph so far?
Well, we've had a few, but I think getting this factory open and moving our production from Asia to the United States and making product that this year won 7 medals in the magazine tests, I feel like for us that's just a gigantic triumph. This stuff was being made in Asia by people who had never even seen snow before, and now it's being made here by people who love to ski and snowboard. So we're totally psyched about that.
And what do you see, for the future of your company? What are you guys going to be working on or doing differently, or are you just going to continue doing what you're doing and just creating those same products?
Well, from the Ramp brand, we're continuing to push for really innovative new products. We have a ski that we tested, I think the 4th generation of it at Mount Hood on Labor Day weekend, and I think it's going to be the most versatile ski on the market. It's the most versatile ski I've ever tried. So, we're going to continue, and especially now that we're really caught up for the first time with this factory on the Ramp production, we're really pushing hard now into futuristic type ideas. And so the 15-16 product line is going to have some product that I think is really groundbreaking. But from a financial standpoint, we have some gigantic, I think, potential with some of these deals we've made this summer. I applied this summer for the license agreement for Major League Baseball, and we got that approved. And we started working on the graphics, and already people are buying, the skis and snowboards from all 30 Major League Baseball teams. And it's interesting, the first team that bought them for their store was the Kansas City Royals, and the first team who we got a consumer order from through our website was the San Francisco Giants. So there's got to be some mojo happening there that's desirable, I would say. But we think the potential of that is huge because people are going to buy them. Like, we were in Vermont traveling, and we went to places like Killington, and we're showing them the ski shops, and of course they all want to get them and have Red Sox and Yankees one there, so everyone can fight about it. But the guys at the store and at Okemo, they were like, well, who wouldn't want a pair of these hanging up on the game room in their condo here, or in their kid's room? Plus obviously a lot of people will buy them to ski on. But also we got approved a short time afterward by the NFL. So now we're just getting underway with creating all the graphics for 32 new skis and 32 new snowboards, and also longboard skateboards. And we've been approved by CLC, which manages a lot of college licensing. And we also are creating all kinds of OEM product. Like we got an order recently from a guy who wanted us to make several hundred snow kiteboards. So I guess all this is leading up to the fact that we knew that with this factory that we had created, we had created a situation here that had a lot of capability that the big companies don't have with all this flexibility. So then we sat down and we started trying to figure out, well, what can we do to cash in on this flexibility and leverage, what we've created with this factory. Because, the big companies, like most of them want to get about 400 pair of a model of just one size. So you can imagine if you're trying to create, Major League Baseball skis and you're working on a size 149 Milwaukee Brewers ski, 400 is way too many. You need to be able to make like one or two. And this factory and this process we have here gives us the flexibility to be able to do that sort of thing. So I guess long answer, but to answer your question, the next big challenge here and where I think we're really going to see really big growth is to cash in on all this potential other business that takes advantage of this factory.
Yeah, it seems like the custom market really works well with you guys and that you're able to deliver, what people are looking for. So, and that's definitely been a theme of these Made in America companies, that they are right there seeing what's going on so they can change things when they need to and, really do things quickly for the people buying the product.
Yeah, I think, when you look at why all the companies moved offshore, like if you're a big car company and you used to have a factory here and you're paying your people, high hourly wages like what we do here, and you're going to move your factory to China or somewhere, in China the people are getting paid about $200 a month, there's some pretty big advantages. But the only way that works, I think, is if you pick up your factory floor exactly as it is and you put it in China or Mexico or somewhere where the wages are lower, and then it works. If you're going to then try to take advantage of manufacturing in the U.S., and I think there's a lot of opportunities here right now, you have to come up with a process that's either lighter from an industrial standpoint or more flexible, able to be much more adaptable. And if you can do that, then I think you can beat the factories that only have cheap labor going for them.
Right. In the end, a lot of people are just looking for a good product, and I think they're starting to shy away from those mass-produced products that fall apart within a year. So,
well, if the product is a good product, which many of the imported skis are, I would never badmouth any of these products from a quality standpoint. But I do think that if a person is shopping and they really care about, American jobs and American work and the U.S. economy, if they have a choice to buy one from here versus there, I can't imagine why they wouldn't, because the implications are huge. There's evidence that shows that if people only buy 5% more of their purchases from the U.S., it literally creates millions of jobs. Because, it's not just the person that makes the product, it's the person that's, makes the raw materials, it's the plumber who fixes the building, it's the electrician, it's the people that sell the factory workers food. It's just this gigantic chain of things. And so when people decide to buy a ramp ski or snowboard instead of an import, we're very proud to say that they're being regarded as good or even better as imported products. But the benefits of the whole, U.S. economy is pretty significant.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, and just keep doing what you guys are doing. And I know you have a busy holiday season ahead of you, so wishing you the best of luck to get through that. And we look forward to seeing what you guys do in the future.
Well, thanks, Nicole. We'll, I'm sure, be staying in touch, and I'm sure there'll be lots of good things on the future. And when you get out here and go skiing, come and check it out. We have demos here that you're always welcome to use. Anybody's welcome to come to our factory and see it and try out our equipment.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole.